I am Daniel Madison. I am Daniel. I am Daniel. I am. I am Daniel Madison. I am Daniel Madison. I am Daniel Madison. I am. I am Daniel Madison. Yesterday I released my bottom deal project. Bottom dealing is the deceptive art of secretly dealing playing cards from the bottom of the deck, whilst apparently fairly dealing them from the top. I know most people watching will know that, but for those who don't, I released the project yesterday called the Bottom Deal Masterclass. It's almost 4 hours long of the most instructive, the most detailed and intricate instruction that I've ever given on Sleight-of-Hand to date. I mean, I talk forever and I give everything I know about the bottom deal in this project. And I also teach a whole number of routines and ways for you to demonstrate the bottom deal once you've mastered it. And the project isn't just for experts. At the same time, it's not just for newcomers, it's for everybody. So if you're brand new to the bottom deal, it's ideal for you because it teaches you from the ground up. If you're an expert, it teaches you how to improve your technique. What right do I have to teach anybody? I've been known for my bottom deal for my entire career in the magic industry, and some important people have said some interesting things about my bottom deal. If that means anything to you, the information's on that website. That's not why I'm here. In the video I teach, in the project I teach a whole number of routines and ways of putting your bottom deal to use in sleight of hand demonstrations or tricks. One of those tricks, one of those routines and ideas that I've removed from there that I wanted to put in was what I'm going to teach you in this video, the Scott Tribute. The reason I pulled it out of the project is because I teach sleight of hand for a living. That's how I make my living. I love giving things away for free. And I want to do that more and more, and especially on my YouTube channel. And this is the big one. And I've been wanting to save the Scott Tribute for my YouTube channel for a long time. I've been waiting for these playing cards to arrive so that I could do that. So here I am, and I'm going to teach you the Scott Tribute. For those who don't know what a Scott Tribute is, in 2012, I want to say, 11, 12, or 13, I can't remember, Jim Daniels has fucked my memory up. When you know him as long as I've known him, you call him Jim. He fucked my body up too. I think it was 2012. I was making a TV show with Objective Productions, 4 years in the making, called Deception Artist, produced by Anthony Owen, written by myself, Andy Nyman, and David Britland. We all made this show together, and I won't talk about too much why it didn't happen and those kind of details on this video, but I will tell you, when we were making that, the show was based on my deceptive skills specifically used for criminal activity, basically exposing me being bad, being a criminal, and then show you how the deceptive techniques work, not playing cards but real life stuff. And there was quite a few playing card ideas in there, and at the time Shine Productions came to us and they wanted me to be on this new show called Penn and Fool Us. And I said no. I kept saying no simply because it was a TV show for magicians, to do magicians, for magicians, and the people watching wanted to watch magicians, and I didn't want to be known as a magician or associated with that world, so I kept saying no. And also the show that I was making for Channel 4 for Objective Productions, it wasn't a magic show, so it wouldn't have made sense to see me, for the general public to see me and then label me as a magician and then see me on a TV show doing things that aren't really related to magic. So I said no for a number of reasons. I kept saying no, And the final time they asked, I think they came to us about 5 times. They actually asked, like, why do you keep saying no? And I explained that to them. And they said, well, we'll let you on in any capacity as long as it involves technical skill that could possibly fool Penn and Teller. So I said, if I can do a card cheating demonstration, not only is that good for me, it's good for the show that I was working on. And then they says, okay, send us a demo. Send them a demo of the Scott tribute. They loved it, and I had to go. They didn't really believe what they were seeing on the demo, so I had to go and perform it for the producers and the directors before the show was filmed. And Johnny Thompson was there. I didn't know that he was working on the show, but he was there, and he was the head consultant. So I did the trick. I performed the whole routine as you see it on TV, as it was put on TV. I performed it for those guys, and Johnny Thompson said, you won't be able to do that on the night. You won't be able to do it on the show because you can't bring your own deck, because when they check the deck, they're gonna see that it's gaffed or that it's set up. Like, you're not gonna fool them with that. And I explained to him, I says, it isn't about my deck. I can do this exact same thing with any deck of playing cards. And he didn't believe me. He was so skeptical. He got one of the runners to go out and buy a deck of playing cards. I was fucking praying that they would bring back a deck of bikes, and they fucking did. So he opens the deck, we do the trick without me touching it right until the very moment where I start dealing, and I still managed to execute the trick. I still got away with it because that's how it's designed. It's designed to work under the most impossible circumstances. And he saw the trick. I did it for him. It worked around him, and I did the full version, which I didn't actually do on TV, which means he got to check the deck afterwards for possible duplicates and possible discrepancies, deceptions, to try and figure out how I'd done it. And he couldn't find them. He couldn't figure them out. And he was, I won't talk about it, but anyway, I proved myself twice. So I got on the show, never spoke to Johnny again. He was there on the day, and he said hello to everybody other than me. Anyway, so I get on the show, I get there at 9 a.m, I'm still waiting at 9 p.m, because I was the last one. And I asked one of the runners, I'm like, please can you let me know which deck of playing cards Penn and Teller are using, which deck of playing cards they're going to give me. And the runner says that I can't do that because that's cheating. That's against the whole rules of the show. So I had to go on and do this trick in a way that I had to prepare for the worst, meaning that they would present me with a different deck. This will make sense as I explain how the trick works, but right at the very last moment, so Jonathan Ross is on stage talking, introducing me. As he's introducing me and I'm waiting behind the thing where you walk out, I'm sure there's a name for that. As I'm waiting to walk out, the runner comes over to me, runs over to me and says, alright, they're using red bikes. And I was like, I had 5 seconds. I had to switch something, which I'll explain in a minute. I had to switch my deception really quickly, switch blue for red, and they announced me walking out, and I'm still setting up. So when you see me walking out, I literally go from this to this in a split second, just as you see it. So right at the last moment, I managed to switch to red playing cards. That's why when you see the performance, I deal the royal flush face down. Now, as far as everybody's concerned, that's the way the effect works. That wasn't the way that I designed it, because I designed it to be applicable to any deck of playing cards as long as it was poker size. And I'll explain that as we get into it, but right at the last minute, it kind of corrected itself. Thank you to the runner. Otherwise, I would have used the blue playing cards in a red deck, which would have been problematic, but that's how I designed it, and I probably would have been caught out in a very, very different way. Anyway, so the reason we said yes to do the show is because it would demonstrate it would give me a platform to demonstrate my skills in front of millions of people, which is what I did. One genius idea that David Britland came to me with was, if I fool Penn and Teller, they're not going to talk about my skill level. They will just say, that was good, you fooled us, off you go to Vegas, have a good time, send us a postcard. If they saw my move, if I let them know what move I was doing, they would talk about how good I was at the move despite seeing it, despite not fooling them. That to me, that to my show, was the most important thing, and it became a very intricate part of my show. So much so that I conditioned the whole environment around making damn sure that Penn and Teller saw the bomb deal. I put them at the worst angle for the bomb deal. And when you learn about the bomb deal, there's great angles, there's terrible angles, and a good bomb dealer needs to be able to handle all those angles. But for me, I put them in a position where they would definitely see the deception. They would see the cards hidden in my hand. They would see the bomb deal itself. That way, at the end, they could talk about how good my bomb deal was. It was a huge fucking risk, but thank you to David Brutland. They said some really nice things about my bomb deal, and from that day forward, so many people came to me asking me to teach them my bomb deal and give my thoughts and theories and everything on the bomb deal. I can't tell you how many times I've performed the Scott tribute or been asked to execute my bomb deal for people and teach my bomb deal. It's been the one of the most important moves in my career. To this day, I've been asking myself why I haven't done this before, why I haven't put it on film before. But I guess 20 years in the industry and 20 years of doing the bomb deal gives me the right, gives me a platform to teach it correctly and teach everything I know. 20 years of my experience with a bomb deal has gone into that bomb deal masterclass. So they said some really nice things about my bomb deal. And I did teach it afterwards in a book. I sold it like a booklet just to make some money. The Scott tribute, and it did really well. People picked it up. And then this bomb deal project came along, but I wanted to save the explanation for the Scott tribute for you guys to give it away for free. Especially since my bomb deal project has just come out. I'm not going to teach the bomb deal in this project. I will kind of expose it a little bit so you know what's going on, but we don't have time on this YouTube channel. I don't have 3 hours 45 minutes to teach the bomb deal here. This is just about the Scott tribute. So I'm going to move the camera, we're going to get close up to the table, and I'm going to basically expose everything that I did, and a few different ways of doing it, and the original way of doing it where you can do it with anybody's deck of cards without worrying about the back design. One quick little story before I do that is there was a practice run for the director and the production team, so they knew where the cameras should be pointing, and they knew what I was going to be doing and how long it would take. So when I did that, it was just me and the production team, and Jonathan Ross was there, and Jonathan Ross was my guy to shuffle. So I put the blindfold on, he's shuffling the playing cards, and after he shuffled, I said, put the deck face down in my hand. So he puts it in my hand, not face down, face up, right? You can imagine how much this fucked me up, because I'm blindfolded. I believe this is face down, so I'm dealing face up cards down to the table, and then randomly, out of nowhere, really mystically and magically, 5 random cards appear on the table face down, and everybody watching is fucking confused. And here's me with a blindfold on, really confidently turning cards of this one should be this, and if I've done this correctly, all dramatic, and then I pull the blindfold off, and I'm fucking confused now because all the playing cards are face up and nobody's reacting to the trick. And it was a moment where the producers and the director was like, what, that's shit, that's a terrible trick. And I had to explain it to them, and then I had to do it again, and it made sense. But at that point, everybody who was really interested in seeing it in the production team, I fucked it up and ruined it, so they didn't really react the second time I showed them. That's why when you watch the video, the Penn and Teller video, which, by the way, I can't show that Penn and Teller video, that footage, on this channel. I did put it on this channel and they took it away and they threatened me. I can't remember what it was. They said like if you post this again, your YouTube channel will be gone. So I don't want to lose my channel. So if anybody, in fact, there's a link in this video description to my Vimeo channel. Vimeo don't give a fuck. Vimeo keep it up there. They don't give a fuck. So it's still in my YouTube. I mean in my Vimeo. So I'll put a link under this video so you can watch the full performance. That's why when you watch it, when Penn puts the deck in my hand, I say to him, "Is the deck face down? Please make sure it's face down." And I over exaggerate, and he's like, "Yes, it is face down." And I did that for that reason, because I was terrified that on live TV the deck would be face up and I would fuck up again. So that's one funny thing about the video. When you watch it, you see me. I worry a bit about which position the deck is in. But so that video link is in this description. Anybody, if you have a link to the performance on YouTube, please put a link to it in the comments below this video, and I will pin it and I will share that link too. Because you can lose your channel if you want. I don't want to lose mine. I have no idea why they don't want me to put it up. I believe it's even on Netflix now, I think. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to move the camera over and I'm going to explain to you the Scott tribute. So the reason I call it the Scott tribute is because it's a direct tribute to somebody who became a little bit of hero of mine, Walter Irving Scott. He was known as the world's greatest second dealer. He was an actual card cheat. That's up to your decision reading the research. And David Britland, along with Gazzo, wrote an amazing book about him and the history of him, called The Phantom at the Card Table, or Phantoms at the Card Table, Phantoms of the Card Table, and that was named after Walter Scott's book, in which Eddie Maguire teaches Walter Scott's second dealing methods. It's a great book. I'm not a fan of second dealing, but all I know about second dealing I learned directly from him and his students. So I always wanted to, first of all, I always wanted to work with David Britland after reading that book, and how fucking delighted was I when he was employed to produce and write my TV show, and I got to know him over 4 years, and he's such an amazing person. So the Penn and Teller Foolers came along. It just felt right that I gave a tribute to. Really, it was a tribute to David Britland, but I called it my Walter Scott tribute. And there's one really interesting reason why, a really interesting psychological trick, reasoning behind why I called it a Walter Scott tribute. And I spoke about Walter Scott on the night in the performance too, because Penn and Teller know who Walter Scott is, and he's famous for second dealing. So that was a little bit of a red herring, because I wanted them to believe that I was also second dealing in my performance. I wasn't, but they were going to look out for that, and that didn't happen in the end. But also for anybody else watching who knew Walter Scott, who knew who he was, they would have thought the same thing. They would have been looking out for a second deal, because that's what he was famous for. There was this one night, I think it was July the 14th, June the 10th, June the 14th, I can't remember now. That's good old Jim working again on me. 1930, Walter Scott. He spent one night. Eddie Maguire took him to meet some of the world's most famous magicians. It was a night in New York. And he fooled the fuck out of them by demonstrating second dealing techniques, the work around pegging and punching it. If you don't know what that is, I won't talk about it in this video. And the story fascinated me because he managed to fool those guys, because they didn't expect him to do what he was doing. They weren't looking out for that kind of work, that kind of material, those kind of techniques. And the greatest part of the story is that one image where they put a bag over his head, like a leather bag, to make sure that you couldn't see the cards. So my performance is a direct tribute to that, with the blindfold, and he fooled some of the greatest magicians alive at that time, and the concept of the show was for me to fool Penn and Teller. So I wanted to kind of reproduce that. And I wanted to wear a leather bag over my head on Penn and Teller, but they wouldn't let me do that. It would have looked incredible, I think. So here's what you need. And I'm going to teach you first the routine as I first came up with it. So I have a different deck. I have the pink Madison Rounders available right now at illusionist.com. And I'm going to take out the ace, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of clubs. And these are going to be my deceptive little friends. This is where the deception happens in these 5 cards. Ace, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of clubs. I had a makeshift holdout device made out of paper clips that hooked to my belt, and these cards were just hanging freely here, face outwards, hanging freely here, so that I could get to them. The way I'm going to teach it now, you're just going to set them in your back pocket or tuck them underneath your belt, just in a way that's easy for you to get to them. And the way you need to get to them is, the way you need to get to them is when you go to your back pocket, you want to come back in a gambler's cop with those 5 cards. Again, I'm not going to teach that move here. You can find my teaching of that online somewhere or in my projects. But a gambler's cop is basically a palm that allows your hands to be freely, to move freely like this when you're holding out more than one playing card. So they need to be in a position, these 5 cards, where you can get to them in a gambler's cop. Don't worry about the time it's going to take you to get them in the cop or the timing of it. I'm going to go over that right now. With a borrowed deck, let's say this is a borrowed deck, Madison is playing cards, you're going to have somebody come along and shuffle them for you. The participant's going to be shuffling the fuck out of these playing cards. So I decided that Penn and Teller would sit here on this side of me, because that's the worst angle for the bomb deal. Initially they were going to go here, but then I put them over here because it's worst angle so that they could see not only the cop but also the bomb deal. So I'll move these out of the way. So while they're shuffling the playing cards, I'm going to be putting the blindfold on, and they're going to be checking if the blindfold is legit. I put it on. Now when you're blindfolded and when you're seen wearing a blindfold, there's a psychological trick it plays on people. Nobody expects you to be able to do deceptive things with a blindfold. Mainly it's one of your biggest senses, and if you're dealing playing cards and you're doing bad things, you need to be able to see what you're doing incorrect. The best deceptions happen when you're looking the other way. So it made it so easy, and it gave me so much confidence to be able to just take those cards out of my pocket and load them into the deck. So there's a moment on that film, I think the directors were very friendly to me and they cut it out, but there's a moment where when they're shuffling the blindfolds on, my hands simply come down to my side and then they come back up, and in that moment I've pulled out the playing cards. I copped the 5 playing cards. Bear in mind I can't see anything, so I can't see where people are looking, but to me it doesn't matter if Penn and Teller are looking here because I want them to see this. I mean, I didn't take them out and go, hey, look what I've got. You know, I did it in a very subtle way. So when they're shuffling, once they've finished shuffling these playing cards, I get them to put the deck in my hand face down like this. Allows me to show my hand completely empty. Nobody thinks about this hand. So I'm like this. They put the shuffled deck in my hand. I manipulate it so it's face down here, and I bring it over the top of this, and I put the deck on top of these 5 playing cards, thus loading the deception to the bottom of the deck. So because these cards are different to these cards, I have pink cards in a white deck. I'm going to teach you the original way that I was supposed to perform this. The reason I use the ace to 5 of clubs is because the clubs, especially ace to 5 in any deck of playing cards, not any deck, but most decks of playing cards, they all look the same. So if I put these into this deck, they're going to look exactly the same as the clubs in this deck. The same goes with most existing decks, apart from fashion decks. So once again, the deck goes here, I bring this up, the deck goes on top. I've now loaded those cards to the bottom. In my original performance I wrote for this, I put the deck down first and warm up my hands. Gives me that freedom, takes me away from the deception, makes it look like I can't have done anything. Now I pick the cards up and I say I'm going to deal random playing cards, and I'm going to deal 5 playing cards over here, 5 points in the deal. I now take the deck, and all I have to do is deal cards into a pile and then execute 5 bottom deals. So I'm dealing cards randomly, and then every once in a while I come over here and put 1 card here. For now I'm gonna do it face down so that you can see the pink cards. And coming over this way as well, over here, it also helps hide the deception and hide any finger movement, especially to cameras, because you've got that whole body motion rather than just your hands moving. Once again, bottom deal, and then another bottom deal. How many? I've got 3 here. I'll put that one there. 1 more here. So now I've got 5. I put these down, turn these over, and reveal, of course, ace to 5 of clubs, royal flush. Very simple. The discrepancies at this point are this deck can be checked. There are 52 cards here and there are 5 cards here. There are also ace to 5 of clubs here and in here. So the deception, the original way that I wrote this, once the cards have been revealed, I take the deck, I take the cards and display them, show the audience, show everybody, and during the obvious round of applause that is expected, I put these cards in the deck and lose them in the deck, give the deck a shuffle, and then put the deck down and walk away and talk to Jonathan Ross, taking back the 5 clubs or the royal flush with me so that the deck can be checked. That didn't happen because of timing reasons. Before we get to that, I'm going to teach you how you would get away with this in this deck, a different deck. Exactly the same thing. The deck is shuffled, it's put back in my hand. The 5 clubs are brought underneath, and I'm going to bottom deal. I'm going to change my bottom deal. I'm going to do a Farrell bottom deal. Now what that means is, this is a standard deal. This is a stud deal. If I turn the cards face up so that I see them first. This is a Farrell deal. If you see the card before I do, it's turned over this way. It's called a Farrell deal. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not wrong. You're gonna deal bottom. You're gonna bottom deal those 5 cards in a Farrell deal. If I bottom deal those 5 cards like this, you see the back first, and then you see this last. I don't want you to see the back whatsoever. So if I do a Farrell bottom deal, you don't see the back of those cards. You only see the face of them. So this is the original plan. I would do bottom deals. I would do fair deals, and then on every bottom deal, it would be a very fair instant reveal. Ace, 2, 3, 4, 5, and you wouldn't see the backs. And then I would display them and say, there we go. I win, you lose. I would pick the cards up, instantly lose these cards into the deck, shuffle as I'm getting the applause, put the deck down, walk away. Again, taking the 5 cards with me so that nobody ever sees the back of those playing cards. Yes, there are problems that come with that. Once they're down on the table, people want to inspect these. So for me, when I found out, when the runner told me the Penn and Teller were using a red deck, that was a fucking blessing, because it meant I got to switch. These cards were blue. I pulled them out, I went in my pocket, I got my red cards, quickly switched them, put them in, came out, and it gave me the freedom to deal cards from the same deck, which is a beautiful thing. The only problem is, at the end, once those 5 cards were here, and then they were turned face up, in my head, I planned for the performance, the cleanup. It was planned. I was supposed to come and take the deck. I was supposed to get these cards, show them around, put them in the deck, even like just put them on top of the deck and then find a way to steal them, as long as I got them away from the deck. But it just happened that I had to walk away from the table. I got kind of dragged away. But at the same time, Penn and Teller knew what I'd done. They knew that I brought cards into the deck because I made clear that they knew. I just kind of hoped that they didn't spoil it for the audience or for the people watching on TV, and they didn't. So lucky for me, I managed to get away with it. Now, if you want to do this in a more clean way with any deck of playing cards, the idea is obvious. You're gonna find a royal flush in the deck before you do anything. You're gonna get a royal flush to the bottom of the deck, and you're going to cop those cards away and ask the spectator or the participant to shuffle the cards. Meanwhile, you've stolen a royal flush, and you can just keep it in your palm or you can get it into your pocket. When they give you the deck back, the same thing. Load them to the bottom, and then you can just random bottom deal those that royal flush any moment straight up deck, and you're left clean. I didn't like the idea of that. I liked the idea of using a shuffle borrowed deck that I'd never touched before, and that's why I did it the way that I did. So that is the Scott tribute to David Britland and Walter Scott. I thought that was pretty good. What did you think? Yeah, I know. So that was the Walter Irving Scott tribute, the Scott tribute, my tribute to David Britland. Guy's a fucking genius. Also my tribute to Walter Scott. I didn't teach the bottom deal in this. Obviously, you can learn that at my website. A lot of people are asking why the project is so cheap. I'm trying to keep my reputation as the most generous person in the industry. It's almost a 4-hour project. It's only 22 quid. Go and pick it up. I also didn't teach the Gambler's Cop. I basically just exposed how I did it. If you really want to learn how to execute yourself and perform it professionally, pick up the Bottom Deal Masterclass on my website. The Gambler's Cop, I teach that in quite a few projects, and I taught it on film for Illusionist. I might be wrong about this. I think it's free somewhere on my YouTube channel. If I'm wrong about that, I will teach the Gambler's Cop soon. These playing cards are available right now on my website. I'm Daniel Madison. I'll be back very soon with some more free tutorials. I am Daniel Madison. I am Daniel. I am Daniel. I am Daniel Madison. I am Daniel Madison. I am Daniel Madison. I am